What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Rec Talk. And it's not the bowl season. We're not moving into off season. It's portal season. You know, this is usually a time when you as a college football fan can kind of relax, look forward to a bowl if you've got one, and look forward to the off season and, not having to stress. Not the case in today's college football. Once you get to past the regular season, the real stress has only just begun because you might have your entire team decimated. You know, I did a video on Marshall, and basically they had to opt out of a bowl because all of their players hit the portal. And I got a few comments where like, well, that's Marshall's fault for screwing their coach. Now, I don't know every detail of this, the contract negotiation Marshall had with their coach that was hired by Southern Miss. But it could have just been the case they didn't have the money to pay this coach that won, the Sun Belt for them, the money he was offering. And Southern Miss did, maybe. Does that mean their entire team should just be decimated? Which it might be worse than decimated. If you didn't know, decimated means to decrease by a factor of 10. Also, that's the prefix deci, right? But even if they couldn't agree to terms with their head coach, I don't think they should basically lose their entire team and pay a penalty of not playing a bowl. Like, teams have literally cheated for decades and nothing happened to them. All they did was they didn't pay their coach. So I don't necessarily think that's fair. But there's a new trend now, and I got a comment from someone who was super salty about me even bringing this up. But I've noticed this trend. God loves the transfer portal. I mean, he freaking loves the transfer portal. There's not a single kid who has ever hit the transfer portal that it wasn't a part of God's grand, magnificent plan for the world. Every player, God's plan. Everything is great. And basically what I said was, well, I think it's kind of disgusting that you're making a decision purely motivated by money for most of the people in the transfer portal, and then you're hiding behind the veil of God's plan to become impervious to criticism. Like, oh, well, you can't criticize me. God himself told me to do this. This is something Deion Sanders did that I was highly critical of. You know, my brother in Christ, whilst is, he's doing all this underhanded stuff. But anyways, Romello Height hit the portal for Georgia Tech yesterday. I was literally in the middle of recording a video and just had to stop because I see stuff popping up of Romello Height hitting the portal. Will this be his fourth school in 4 years? Didn't he go to, and I could be wrong, I know it's his third time hitting the portal. Wasn't he at Auburn, USC, and Georgia Tech, and now he will be going to whatever school picks him up in the portal. Now, Romello Height was a good, productive player for Georgia Tech. And look, Georgia Tech has an awful track record of defensive linemen hitting the portal and then becoming excuse me, I can't stomach this portal stuff. Superstars. Jared Ivey was a menace this year and last year for Ole Miss, and Kyle Kennard's literally won an award for being the best defensive end in the country. And oftentimes, fans of any fan base will say, well, he's not that good. That's why he's hitting the portal. We didn't want him anyways. And that has not been the case. I mean, we're going to struggle. Like, we struggle the most at defensive line. It's one of the highest market positions, particularly at defensive end, pass rush. We've struggled to recruit players, and the players we do have, we've struggled to keep them. Now, with Romello Height, yes, he was super productive. I saw on Twitter, though, like this guy, I think it was on Romello Height's God's Plan announcement, God's plan for him has been amended quite a bit, right? God's plan has taken him to 4 different schools in 4 years. But anyways, I guess some guy on Twitter was basically saying like, hey, I sat next to Romello Heights' dad, and he was saying that he's a back-end first-round draft pick, and that was part of why he was hitting the portal. And I'm not crapping on this kid. He's not a first-round player, though. If your dad is telling you that you're a first-round player, he's lying to you. You know, I mean, maybe I'm proven wrong, but look, this is part of what is just making college football tough to watch and follow. Speaking of dads, Eric Singleton Jr.'s dad comes out, and I'm going to try and say this with a straight face. Eric Singleton Jr.'s dad comes out and says, this had nothing to do with money, him hitting the transfer portal. Reports between $1 to $2 million NIL valuation for him. But guys, his dad said it doesn't have anything to do with money. It is God's plan. God's plan often lines up with getting paid. It's like the Joel Osteen brand of religion, I guess. But come on, man. Why do you even need to say anything? Like, say nothing other than lying. Does anyone believe Eric Singleton Jr. hitting the portal has nothing to do with money? Come on, man. Come on. Well, then it must have something to do with Georgia Tech, and you should just say it. What is it? I don't know, man. But here's my thing, like, and my outlook on this has really changed. And obviously there's different circumstances for different players. I totally get and don't blame these kids for hitting the portal and trying to get the biggest payday they can. But I'm also not rooting for you once you leave my school. Yeah, I don't feel anything for you. Not rooting for you, not wishing ill on you, but don't expect me to hope you do great at some other school that we might even play. Like, I don't feel bad if you transfer and it doesn't end up working out. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad. You made a decision based on money, and to be fair, the school did too. Like, look, we're not going to pay you. We either don't have the money to pay you what you're asking for, or we don't want to pay you the money you're asking for. So, look, it is what it is, but it does make things extraordinarily stressful. Now, in other news, Wake Forest, Dave Clawson has stepped down. That was what I was recording when I found out the Romello Heights news yesterday. Basically being reported as mutual. Honestly, rarely are things mutual, kind of like a relationship. When a breakup is quote-unquote mutual, almost never is that the case, right? Someone's like, hey, I want to break up, and you're like, oh, I totally did too. Yep. And then you go cry and listen to the saddest whiskey lullaby or something and watch yourself cry in the rearview mirror. Not that I've ever experienced that. But yeah, Dave Clawson saying he's stepping down. He will stay on an advisory role. And look, I have a lot of respect for Wake Forest. And by the way, I did see that Tar Heel Huddle made like a 45-minute response video to my Bill Belichick thing. If you made me pick a school in North Carolina to root for, it would be Wake Forest. Even on the basketball front, Tim Duncan is my all-time favorite. Sorry, is what it is. Tim Duncan's the man. But yeah, so they'll start their coaching search now. Evidently, I don't remember if I said it. Dave Clawson will stay in an advisory role, and they've struggled for the past 2 or 3 years since they made that ACC title appearance. And Wake Forest is the caliber of team that's a great example of a team that's going to struggle. I mean, they're like Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's in a much better position, I think, to survive the new portal and NIL era than Wake Forest. But anytime you have a really good player on one of those teams, like an Eric Singleton Jr., like a Sam Hartman, right? Sam Hartman, Dave Clawson even mentioned this, went to senior day, watched him at senior day at Notre Dame. He's like, no, he's not. You rented him for a year. You rented him for a year. And I'm not just saying this because my team is going to be one of these that get poached in the portal every year, but that there's just absolutely no rules surrounding this whatsoever is not manageable. And something has to give. I know that, we're college football fans and we don't want something that operates like the NFL, but this isn't working. That I do know, right? Like Romello Height hits the portal immediately, going to Texas Tech. Evidently, Texas Tech is slinging around a bunch of money. Now, I hate Texas Tech. I hate a bunch of teams. I hate Texas Tech. If you didn't know this, they absolutely screwed over Mike Leach, lied about Mike Leach. Mike Leach had to sue them to try and get his money back that they owed him. And Texas is one of the few states that a university can claim like sovereign immunity and not have to pay you what you're due. So I hope the absolute worst for Texas Tech, but evidently they're slinging a lot of money around. And here's the thing, like obviously they contacted Romello Height and had something waiting for him for as soon as he hit the portal, and that was it. And everyone is doing this. So we gotta get some kind of standardized rules to where we don't have to recruit our whole roster, our own roster year round, right? We don't have to worry about someone contacting a kid. And I'll tell you what we might see. What prevents you from doing this? Let's say Georgia this year was playing, we'll just say Georgia, Texas. Let's say Texas, who has a lot of money, said, hey, not that we really need them. Let's contact like their 2 or 3 best players and make them sit out that bowl game or the SEC title, so that they can hit the portal. Hey, we're going to sit out the SEC title. We're hitting the portal. I think the portal window even opened up before then. Maybe I'd have to go look. But what prevents you from doing that? And this is making a product that is less desirable to watch. Now, people of that caliber haven't really been hit as hard with getting poached, but it's going to happen, right? I mean, it's likely to happen. Now you have this arms race. The arms race of conferences has kind of settled down, but the arms race of NIL and portal, it is just skyrocketing. And in my opinion, like, I'll say this, a guy was like, well, no one's watching the Independence Bowl, talking about Marshall, who cares? Well, the administration of that school, the bowl cares, Army cares. Like, just because you don't care doesn't mean that people aren't affected. Now, the solution might be to make less bowls. That might be one of the only things you can do in the portal era, or you're going to have to get some rules, harder rules surrounding it. But what I do know is that not all of it is God's plan. It's just people making a money grab. And I don't know why that gentleman had to comment on the video. This guy commented and basically said, I don't know why you're bringing God's up in this. I got to step up for the big man. Well, first of all, God doesn't need you to advocate for him in a YouTube comment section, sir. Second of all, I'm defending him. People are bastardizing his name to go get paid, and I'm calling that out. If you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. I think it's silly and I think it's stupid. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Y'all have a good day.